Hello amazing artists, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a dandelion painting using a recycled toilet paper roll. This painting shows you how many amazing textures you can get while painting without using a paintbrush. If you don't have paint at home, be sure to check out my Pinterest page for some homemade recipes. Let's get started. For this painting, you only need one color of paint. I'm going to be using white acrylic paint, but you can use any color that you have. Since I'm using white paint, I will be painting on black paper, but you can use any color construction paper or cardstock that you have. So for the painting, you'll need your paper, whatever paint you're using. Again, I'm using white acrylic paint. Of course, you'll need something to put your paint on. You'll need 1 to 2 toilet paper rolls, a cotton ball, some Q-tips. If you have a small paintbrush, you can use it also, but Q-tips do just as great of a job. And last but not least, you will also need some scissors. So before we can paint our dandelions, we need to prepare our toilet paper roll. So you'll need that and your scissors. And what we're going to do is we are going to cut about halfway up the toilet paper roll. You can see that cut right there, and I'm going to do that all along one side. So I'm just going to go around the hole, and it makes these little strips. This is the star of our show for our painting because this is what makes our dandelion shape. When you're done cutting, your toilet paper roll should look something like this. Now what we need to do is to gently curl back all of those little pieces of your toilet paper roll. It almost makes it look like a flower. Sometimes if you curl them back a little bit with your fingers and then gently push down on the table, it can get them to fan all the way out like we need them to. This is what it should look like when you're completely finished. Now we can prepare our paint. First you'll want to squeeze out your paint onto your plate, but now we need to spread it out. So I'm going to take my brush, or you can use a Q-tip, and I am just swirling and spreading my paint around on my plate to make a big area of paint. Now that we have done that, we are ready to start painting with our toilet paper roll. So I'm going to take my cut up roll and I am just going to dab it down into my paint. I'm going to kind of turn it and make sure that all of those little pieces of my roll get a little bit of paint on them, just like this. And then I'm going to start dabbing it on my paper in a circular motion. This is going to be the base of our dandelions. You can see that awesome texture that is already happening. Most of the paint will be on the ends of those little strips on your paper roll, so the paint on your paper will be kind of a ring shape. The middle will still be empty. You want the middle of your dandelion to be empty, but have this nice, messy, fuzzy looking texture on the outside, just like this. If you're using a bigger paper than I am, you may be able to fit more than one dandelion of this size on your paper. But if you're using a smaller paper, we can cut the strips on our paper roll to make a smaller dandelion. You can either cut the strips about halfway down like I'm doing. You can use the same roll, or you can just make a whole new roll and just not cut down halfway on your roll. You can cut down just a little bit to make your strips smaller. The smaller your cuts and the smaller your strips, the smaller dandelion it will make. So now you can see that the little strips of my paper roll are a lot smaller. So now I can make a smaller dandelion just by doing the same thing. I'm first going to dab my toilet paper roll into my paint, make sure that there's a little bit of paint on each strip. And then I'm going to choose where I want my second dandelion to be, and I'm going to do the same circular motion to dab that paint onto my paper. We want that nice, fuzzy, messy texture on the outside, but we want to leave the inside empty just like the first one. The next step is to add some centers and some stems to our dandelions. So you can do this with a paintbrush or with a Q-tip, but you're just going to dip whatever you're using in your paint and draw a circle in the middle of each of your dandelions. The circle doesn't have to be perfect because we are going to be adding some texture on top of it later. But once you have your circle, you can add a stem all the way down to the bottom of your paper. Your stems don't have to be perfectly straight. They can have a little bit of a curve to them. And then I'm going to paint a dot in the middle of each circle. Now, if you haven't been using a Q-tip up until now, you'll want to grab it, dip it in a little bit of paint, and now we're going to dab some little dots on top of that circle we made, just to mess it up a little bit, give it a little bit of texture. That's why it's not super important that your circle is perfect, because you're adding these on top anyways. So I'm just dabbing all over, making a really messy layer of dots on top of that little ring I added in the middle. And I'm going to do that on each one of my dandelions. Now I can use my Q-tip to fill in any empty spaces I have on the outside of my dandelion. If you love your dandelions just the way they are, you can leave them like this, or you can add some things to the background to make it look like the wind is blowing. So I'm still using my Q-tip, and what I can do is whatever direction I want my wind to go, I can start making some dots coming off of my dandelion in that direction. So I'm making my wind look like it's blowing my dandelion to the right. So I'm adding some dots into my background that make it look like that wind is blowing. So you don't want to add these in just a straight line. You want it to be kind of like a messy cluster or group of dots. And you can do as many of these as you want. For our last step, we'll need our cotton ball. And this step is really fun. It makes your dandelions look really nice and fluffy. So you can take your cotton ball. I like to separate mine out just a little bit so that I get a really nice fluffy look. Dab it just a tiny bit, once or twice into your paint, and then you can dab your cotton ball on top of your dandelion. So right on top of where we added that texture from the toilet paper roll and the texture from the Q-tips, you're just dabbing it right on top and adding just a little extra flavor to your dandelions. You can even do it on top of the little pieces that are blowing away in the wind. You want to be careful not to add too much, because the goal for this final step is just to add a little bit on top of what you already have. You don't want to cover up all of that beautiful texture underneath, so be sure you don't pick up too much paint. You want just a tiny bit. I hope you enjoyed making this awesome textured dandelion painting with me today. If you're my student, shoot me an email, show me your paintings. I would love to see them. I'll see you guys next time. Stay creative, artists.